Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson. This is the show where we talk about THC. That can be referring to the cannabinoid that brings euphoria when inhaling the magical vapors of the cannabis plant, or it can mean truth, hope, and change. And we talk about both of those things on this show. In the world that we're living in, it's hard to determine what the truth is a lot of times. There's a lot of fake news out there on all sides of issues, it seems. It's really hard to navigate, a lot more than it used to be, for sure. So in that case, we need to find out what the truths are, and how do we navigate the world that we're living in to find out what is real and who's lying to us and who's telling us the truth. The truth is that there's a lot to be worried about. There's a lot to be concerned about with the state of our world, the state of our affairs, the state of the governance of our country here, and the governance of other countries around the world. It seems to be a lot more corrupt than we had even suspected, and governments around the world flexing their muscles and deciding that they can at will just completely ignore rights, freedoms, constitutional guarantees, and all the rest of that. So, as we find out those truths, we need some hope. Hope is probably the most important thing in the world. I think that if you have nothing but hope, at least you have some reason to carry on. If you don't have hope, it's hard to have a reason to carry on. So you need to find a reason. And there are some reasons there, and there is some good reasons for hope. And we try to explore some of those as well, because what we really want is change. The status quo is not okay. It's been devolving as opposed to evolving for a while with respect to our rights and freedoms, how we're able to live our lives, and what governments and authorities can get away with, and how they interfere with our lives. And we need some change to that. In fact, we need quite a bit of a change. I think we should have a real sit down, all of us as people, the global community can do this, or certainly we can do it online through all sorts of internet or social media platforms, but the Canadian people need to have a sit down and a talk about what it is that we want to have in the way of governance, what we think these public servants should and should not be doing for us. And we really need to think about that, because the world is a mess. And especially that part of the world that we focus on, the world of THC and other things like that, the world is a mess. It's an absolute mess that THC has been demonized, prohibited, overregulated, and restricted for all of this time. We're going on 100 years. Next year, it's going to be 100 years since Canada decided that THC was public enemy number one. And they've spent so much of our money over that length of time on ruining people's lives, on saying cannabis is this dangerous substance in our environment, and we're going to, on your behalf, we're going to make sure that you don't get it and it doesn't hurt you. And so that if you happen to have any, or if you decide to grow some, well, we're going to hurt you bad. We're going to hurt you way worse than the cannabis would ever hurt you, just so that you don't get hurt by the cannabis. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make any sense, but it's been making money for people for a long time. Huge, huge money for a lot of different people. Governments using tax dollars to finance a war against this plant that puts money into the pockets of all sorts of law enforcement and cage people and lawyers and judges and all the rest of these people, making a ton of our money because the government has decided that for you, on your behalf, we're going to make sure you don't have anything to do with that cannabis plant, because it's really dangerous. And it's so dangerous that we're going to use the criminal law to go after people that would have it. We're going to call them criminals for having possession of some plants that they picked along the side of the road or grew in their basement because they thought maybe it would help them with their arthritis or sleeping. We're going to use the criminal law against this plant. Why? Well, because just look at it. I mean, holy smokes, people are going completely insane when they use this stuff. They become violent. They have super strength. They're raping and murdering and pillaging all over the place. They get highly addicted to it, and then they die a horrible death because of usually overdose or trying to get through withdrawal. These were the absolute outright lies that were told about cannabis to try to justify using the criminal law to keep people from accessing it. Absolute 100% blatant flippin' lies. Complete opposite to the truth. Cannabis is not dangerous at all. Cannabis doesn't hurt people, period. It's really, really hard to hurt yourself with cannabis. It's not addictive. You want to quit cannabis? Yeah, you're going to wish you had some the day or two later because that was kind of fun. You liked that. It helped you with the, sleep or pain or anxiety or whatever it was. It was kind of nice to have the magical vapors, do their thing. So, you decide to quit cannabis, and for a couple of days, you might really wish you had. You might wish you had it for a long time after that. But you're not going through physical withdrawal. You're not going to have serious stomach cramps and major headaches and vomiting and such serious stuff going on that you'll have to run back to your joint and get a little more of that cannabis vapor to fend off the withdrawal. Not at all. Not at all. It is not dangerous for anybody. It's not dangerous for our society. It's never caused us any serious problems at all. And you could certainly look at a number of other things that have. The way alcohol is used in this society, the way it's promoted, those that make money off it's got a long history of all kinds of evils and violence and death and all kinds of stuff. Alcohol still, just by using alcohol, hundreds of people die in this province of British Columbia here in Canada every year from alcohol poisoning. And that's not to take into account all the impaired driving deaths and maiming that goes on with that, the physical violence that happens amongst people at parties and nightclubs and all the rest of the problems that come with alcohol. We've got commercial tobacco readily available here in North America. It's in gas stations and grocery stores and drugstores, right across from schools. Doesn't matter. There's lots of commercial tobacco available. Kids start smoking here young. I started at 10 years of age. Lots of other people started smoking really early. It's a thing here. And many, many, many people die. And many more than that go to hospital because of smoking-related illnesses. It's one of the number one drivers of people into hospitals here in North America. And yet there it is, readily available. It's right there. Alcohol, readily available, promoted, sold by your government, sold privately. It's in all kinds of different restaurants and all kinds of different nightclubs. And you can find it in liquor stores, grocery stores, all throughout British Columbia and across Canada. It's everywhere. Causes us all kinds of problems. But here we are. We're still using the criminal law, over-regulating, over-restricting this plant that does none of that. We have several million human beings dying every 12 months from the use of commercial tobacco. Yet there it is, easily available for sale. Not a problem. We have all this destruction and violence that happens because of the misuse of alcohol. But there it is, readily available all over the place. Now we could talk about opioids. We have a serious opioid problem. Why? Because that's the go-to for doctors. Why? Because that's what gets people addicted. That's what keeps them using more. That's what makes a bunch of money for pharmaceutical companies. They have been profiting, raking in the profit because of the sale of opioid-based drugs for a very long time. And that is the go-to for all of their sales reps, which are the doctors that we go and see. And now we have a huge problem with that. We have so many people that end up addicted to the opioids because of the trauma they went through, be it a workplace accident or something that happened, as an adult where they got put on opioids and then they couldn't get off them properly or at all, and now they're stealing them off their families. They're, finding them on the streets, and then they're dying of overdose because that's just what goes on with opioids. And yet that's not only easily available, that's what you're going to get if you go to your doctor and say you got a pain anywhere. They're going to give you opioids. They should give you cannabis. Cannabis should be the go-to for doctors, but that's not the system we got. This world is a mess because of all of these things. We got this major opioid crisis going on here on the downtown east side of Vancouver. It goes on everywhere, but it's really visible down here. It's less visible in other parts of the society. Or rich people, they don't really show that they're using opioids. Lots and lots of people through all the different demographics are addicted to opioids because it happens to everybody that you get injured and get put onto those types of drugs and can't get off, or that you suffered major trauma in your life as a child or whatever, and somehow you manage to get involved with some of the opioids and other drugs like that and found great relief with them. And so now you're addicted to those things. We have a great problem going on with that. And for the last several years now, there's been a compromised supply on the streets of the opioid-based drugs that people are finding because they can't get them through their doctor anymore or whatever. And people are dying. And we have a public health emergency. We have an epidemic of overdose deaths due to the tainted street drugs. And so what should we be doing as a society for that? Well, we should find answers for those people that are struggling with trying to get through withdrawal and get off of those drugs so that they don't expose themselves to the poison that's in the drug supply and die like so many have. We just lost another person very close to us here just in the last week. It breaks my heart. Young man in his 20s. You know, we tried hard. We didn't try hard enough. I had to talk to his dad and say, I'm so sorry. We failed Wyatt. We somehow failed him. He was coming and volunteering at Vandu, and, you know, we were giving him his bags of edibles, but he wasn't coming to us when we got the shop here. We hardly ever saw him. And yeah, he was still involved with those drugs that he couldn't quit. And now he's dead. One of a couple thousand in the last 5 or 6 years here in British Columbia. Thousands of people dead. And we're here with what could be a solution and has been a solution for hundreds of people over the last few years. We've been running the Cannabis Substitution Program for 5 years, handing out high-dose edibles to people for free to make it as easy as possible for them to get access. And we should be able to do that from a storefront like every other business and what have you, but we can't because the government won't give us permission to do that. We've been seeking permission for coming up to a year and a half now. It'll be a year and a half in another 15 days since we submitted our application to Health Canada to be able to continue doing what we had been doing for 3.5 years up until that point, which is providing high-dose edibles to people with great success. With hundreds of people as part of our program that will testify that they used cannabis high-dose edibles to get off of those other drugs, and that's what they're using in their life now, and their lives are so much better. And we have hours of videotape of these people's testimonials that we submitted to the government to help with the application, to make it easy for them to understand that, yes, we are helping people that really need help, and it really does work. And we've been doing it for all this time, and we have all this great success. And nobody's been harmed in any significant way at all, other than the fact that people will, when first starting to try high-dose edibles, eat too much. And it's not fun. And they don't like it. But if they can try it again and, you know, realize where their level is and what the right dosage is, well, then it worked great. And it helps people get off these things. And so we've been here working out of an RV for the last, 16 months because we're waiting for Health Canada to allow us to go back into the storefront. We didn't think it was going to be 16 months of working in an RV out in the street, going through winters and hot summers and all kinds of rainy weather and all the rest of it, stuck in a little RV that you can't stand up in. But that's what we're doing. And there's another place down here that's been doing this for quite a while too. There has been a storefront. There's a couple of them. But there's one in particular that has been here making sure that people get access to cannabis for several years. The Blue Door has been a resource for people since the Herb School was shut down. The Herb School is something that I was involved in from 2004 up until it was closed in 2007, where we provided access to cannabis to people, and it was right close to Main and Hastings here on the downtown east side. And surprisingly to us, the people that became our clients there, most of them, many of them, were people that were involved with opioids and street drugs, and they could find ways out by using the edibles that we had there and using cannabis to replace the use of those drugs. Not so much the smoked cannabis, although smoked cannabis is important and it is enough for some people, and it's part of the formula for most people and how they use cannabis to get off of those drugs. The edibles are what really works, because the edibles can get you way, way more intoxicated, if you will, and then that's a good term to use. You're quite out of it with edibles, depending on how much of it you eat. And when you're trying to get through the horrible pains of withdrawal, being knocked out for a few days, for the most part, with cannabis high-dose edibles is a way through it that many, many people have found. And that needs to be available to people. So when they closed down the herb school after 3.5 years of us providing access, I was very pleased to see that some people that have been helping us with our supply there opened up a dispensary, calling it the Blue Door, and it's been open there ever since, helping people. The CSU, that criminal seizure unit that drives around looking for anybody that would dare try to provide cannabis outside of the government system and shuts them down, has now shut down the Blue Door. There's a whole bunch of hard drug dealers that are just rubbing their hands in glee about getting customers back. As people can't, not everybody knows about us in the RV. Lots of those people are going to find the Blue Door closed. They're going to be hurting. And they're going to go find something. And if they can't find the weed that they need, the Blue Door sold high-dose edibles to people, lots of them, at half-decent prices. I was pleased enough with them that they had that. They're not going to be able to find that out there. They're going to take something else. They're going to be tempted to go back and try other things and get back on that path. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. The CSU has just murdered a handful of people, if not more, on the downtown east side by closing down that crucial access point to cannabis. Shame on them. They're murderers. There is no justification for this whatsoever. Cannabis is not what they said it was when they lied about it and said it made people violent and insane. What cannabis is one of the most effective, best harm reduction tools that is available. Except it's not really available. Unless you listen to what the health doctors, what one of the doctors said here in testifying before City Council when they were asked about, having cannabis dispensaries on the Hastings corridor on the downtown east side. It's 4:19, so you got 1 minute to get it ready if you don't have it ready already. And she said that they don't need to have dispensaries on the downtown east side because there's plenty of people there that have cannabis for sale. That's what a doctor said to City Council here in Vancouver as the justification for not allowing in-store, in-person access to cannabis on the downtown east side, where there's all kinds of tents set up and little stores you can go into and buildings where and round corners and in alleys. And you can find all kinds of other drugs down here. Easy. But nope, the government won't support us in our bid to have a community-based cannabis store with low barrier access to people. And now your provincial public servants have decided to spend your tax dollars, if you're a resident of British Columbia, to shut down one of the most crucial harm reduction access points that we had here on the downtown east side. Shame on them. I hope you'll all be as upset as I am about that. I hope you'll all make some phone calls and write some letters and contact the people. We've got two different groups here. We've got the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, who understands and stated clearly in a letter to us that they recognize that cannabis is a positive emergence of a harm reduction option for people. And on the other hand, we've got a group of out-of-control law enforcement people that think that they can use the biggest hammer that they can find on anybody that would dare pop their head up and compete with their legal non-medical stores. And those two are clashing harshly at this point. And I'm disgusted by it. But anyway, let's take a break. Let's enjoy some of the magical vapors. Glenn Wells from CannaMatch.ca joins me every week on the program to discuss the lighter side of life a little bit sometimes, hopefully, maybe.
The lighter side of cannabis.
Yeah, the lighter side of things. How you doing, Glenn?
Good, how are you, Neil?
Let's see what happens if
You're just getting old.
I'm going to inhale a little bit of this.
I'm going to inhale some of my honey oil that I bought today. Like real classic
That is
honey oil.
old school. That is beautiful.
Man, you guys wouldn't believe how thick this stuff is. I showed Neil earlier. I'll show you guys now. But, this is, happy 420, everybody.
Happy 420.
It is that thick. It ain't going anywhere. Yeah, this is pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
So
we may have some of that available here at the Healing Wave coming up here. In a week or two or something like that.
Put a bit of dab in here.
So speaking of 420.
Yes, we got 420 coming.
420 is 50 days away today.
50 days.
50 days away today.
Somebody's counting.
420. I am counting.
You're counting. Me too. I like 420. And it's going to be bigger than last year.
So 3 years ago, minus, or adding 50 days to that, we had what was one of the most spectacular 420 we'd ever had. Everyone had been spectacular for 20 years, each one better than the one before it by quite a degree.
Yep.
But boy, did we ever outdo ourselves in 2019. Cypress Hill came and helped us celebrate and protest. And it was fantastic.
It was awesome.
A huge crowd of people. Estimates ranging up in the neighborhood of 100,000 people right at the peak of 420.
One day we'll get there.
we might get back there. I don't know.
We just need Cypress Hill to come back. That would get us there.
I know there's a lot of people that are really excited about the possibilities of having another good 420.
Well, what was it? 10 grand to have them here?
I don't know.
Like
I don't know all the numbers. I wouldn't want to start spouting numbers I'm not sure about. The costs were huge for sure to put that on. So this year, we've had 420.
Since it was 2018, not 2019. I don't know.
No.
That was 2018, he says.
No.
Has it been 4 years?
No, it was 3 years ago. It was 2019, Cypress Hill.
I can look it up on my phone.
And then the following year, in 2020, on March 11th, we had the big pandemic hit, and that shut down the 2020. It also pretty much shut down the 2021, and now we're looking at 2022. So definitely Cypress Hill was in 2019.
Yeah, well, we will get the official, because I have it all on video.
It could be fake news. You can't trust anything these days.
Yeah, you never know that Pat Warnicky guy, man.
I'm pretty sure, but anyway, I could be wrong. I've been wrong twice before.
Neil is correct. There it is right there, Saturday, April 20th, 2019.
Yeah,
and there's a video.
I know it's funny. Sorry, Pat, but
anyway,
we didn't have any money on it.
We don't want to put out fake news, right? So
that's right.
That's why we're correcting it, right?
This is about truth.
This is truth,
hope, and change.
You got it.
We had a huge change happen after 2019, and that was this pandemic. Holy smokes, did that ever knock the hell out of
the whole
everything? Concerts, going to restaurants, movie theaters, and certainly our protest rallies.
And that first year was about 10 booths. Then the next year, it was about 20 booths. Last year, it was bigger and went farther down the path than last year. So I think this year, we're going to even be bigger.
Well, you're adding an extra year there, too. You and Pat are both confused.
Wow.
There's only been 2 other 420s since 2019.
Yes.
This is the third one.
This will be the third one, okay. Yes.
And absolutely, that first one that we did do, and I went there in 2020.
Yeah.
Because
I was on the
I wanted to make sure as best I could that people were being respectful of the pandemic. I felt it was the reasonable thing to do. But we did have a decent 420. I mean, not in comparison to 2019, obviously. Like you said, there was maybe a handful of booths, 10 or 12 booths.
Yeah.
But people properly distanced.
Yes.
Some people were wearing masks who weren't properly distancing. There was no problems. It wasn't a super spreader event.
No.
There was no complaints. And so 420 did happen, but it was, just a fraction of what it would have been the year before.
Yeah.
So last year...
I was there because I
know you were there.
Yeah, because I was doing a thing for cannabis culture sitting on top of the hill there that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we did it again last year.
Yeah.
Probably double the amount of booths.
Much better last year.
A bigger stage, more people, but not still just a fraction.
I'm thinking of BC Day as the third one.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably why, because the third one, BC Day was a little bit bigger.
We've also had 2 cannabis days at the Sunset Beach since then as well.
Yeah.
There have been, these protest rallies have continued because it's important that we continue to make these statements. It's not time to fold up our tents and walk away and say, okay, we won. We didn't win.
No.
This legalization that we're being that's being forced upon us here in huge ways by out of control enforcement units like the CSU that think it's okay to put $6.5 million fine on what was one of the best access points for medical patients for cannabis over the last 25 or more years. They think that that's a punishable offense, and they can use that kind of a weapon against the community. They are out of control. This is not legal. Did we ever have a $6.5 million fine against a medical cannabis dispensary before legalization happened? No, not even close. Nothing. There was like over the 20-some years of cannabis dispensaries here in Vancouver. We ended up with well over 150 of them when it was at its peak. Of all those, in all that time, there was just a handful of raids that happened. There was one because some kid came home with a cannabis package that they found, and they tied it back to one of the weed stores on Burrard, and so they raided it. There was Joe Ford, who was running another weed store. Joe, rest in peace, my friend. I'm so sorry that you're gone as well. He was running. I actually worked there for a little while with Joe, and he got raided because he had live plants in his store. So cultivation was their reason for that. There was one other that happened. I Medicate happened as well. There was a raid there. There was a robbery there that precipitated the raid that happened. But other than that, and there was no consequences of any real sort that came out of that, other than that nobody got their shit back.
Yeah.
But there wasn't long jail time for anybody. I don't think anybody served a day in jail. No dispensary owner served a day in jail. No fines that were over like $20,000. Nothing like that. There was a loss of product. They opened up right away, usually right afterwards. More support once they opened up again. It's been crazy here.
Out of the Closet Cannabis Club is asking whether there be a protest in Victoria for April 20.
I'm sure there will. I mean, we're absolutely going to be using what we're doing here to protest about what's going on with Ted Smith and the Cannabis Buyers Club in Victoria.
I'm sure Ted will get a bunch of people together to go to Victoria.
I'm sure he will. He was invited here, but of course he
wants to be in Victoria.
He's been doing his thing there every year anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know what can be done, but we need to all make as big a fuss about this as we can in ways that are effective. So
I wonder if you could do it in Bitcoin, pay them in Bitcoin.
Well, they take cash.
They take people, They
take cash. They probably do take Bitcoin. Isn't that ridiculous? Hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines have been paid to the CSU in cash.
Yeah.
In cash.
In cash.
There's no accountability with that unit.
Why don't they pay taxes on that cash?
What are they going to do with all the money that they've been getting?
I don't know.
What are they going to do with?
They're going to protect communities from cannabis.
Protect communities
from cannabis. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Because we need
$6.5 million. Yeah, because we build a bionic man for $6 million, but we need $6.5 to protect the community.
Yeah, they're probably going to build some big Terminator robot cop to come and sniff out fucking pot plants.
Walk in your door.
X-ray vision. That's probably what the money's going to be used for. Robot fucking enforcers in the future. Annie Barbie, if you're still watching, every once in a while there's a good reason to swear. And God gave us mouths, freedom, and swear words, and when appropriate, we should use what we have there. And I think that God, He's probably using swear words too.
Mm-hmm. He probably is. Well, didn't He invent them?
He's invented everything.
Yeah, apparently, right? So
nothing exists apparently, except for what has been created by this entity. And so whatever you do, that's God doing, right?
That's what they say. Yes.
Well, how could it be anything else? If you were here created by this God, especially if it's the God of the Christians, because that God is omniscient. That's what they say.
Okay, that's what they say.
Omniscient.
Omniscient.
Omnipotent.
Omnipotent.
Omniscient.
Okay.
And everlasting, eternal. But omniscient, you know what that means?
No.
Knows everything.
Oh.
Not just right now,
Yeah.
what's going on. Every hair on every person and animal's back has been named, and this everything. God is aware of it at all moments.
Okay.
But not just in this moment, everything in the past.
And future.
And everything in the future.
Yeah.
So omniscient, which means that all these words that I've just been saying are words that the omniscient creator of all things knew I would be saying
You'd be here today doing this.
An eternity ago.
Yep.
Long before I was ever invented or created.
Yep.
He knew.
He said on the
I'd
year
be here.
2022 on February, or no, it is March.
March
now, right?
1st
March
now.
1st. Neil will be here doing this show.
That's right.
And there you go.
If the God is the creator of all and the God is omniscient, then the God is responsible and knowing and in full knowledge of everything that happens always. God knew that Ted Smith would not stop helping his patients because a corrupt government told him to stop. God knew that. God planned that. This is all the plan. God knew that the CSU was going to come and try to fine him $6.5 million. And if he doesn't pay that, I mean, you're going to tell me he's not going to jail if he doesn't pay a $6.5 million fine? Oh, my goodness.
But saying that God knew this allows people to blame somebody and get mad at them for it. Okay, why did God kill this person? Why did God do this to Ted? Why did God give me this sickness?
Gotta wonder.
Like, right? I don't like.
Gotta wonder.
Yeah, it's
just
life. It's not God. It's just life.
I've been there. I've been through it. The answer is God works in mysterious ways. We cannot know the workings of this being
until we get right there. Yeah,
and it's all a plan.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. It's all a plan.
My plan is when I die, I will find out if he's real or not. That's my plan.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around when I die to find anything out, so I'm trying to find it out before I die.
Well, why?
And the way I can see it is none of that can be true.
It's not wasting your energy trying to find out if it's true
With
or not.
the brain that God gave me and the way that I've used it to think about stuff, my conclusion is none of that can be true.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
I don't know how we got onto religion. I'm sorry for anybody I'm pissing off with that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know how I can.
Why didn't he make it? Why isn't he making it right now? Why is he
having
people die?
Because it's all a plan. You're missing it. It's all a plan,
okay.
And we can't know the plan.
Okay.
We're not able to know the plan. We just have to know that there is a plan. We have to know that the creator of the plan is the great Almighty, and that it's a good plan. But I'm telling you, if it is all a plan, it ain't a good plan.
No,
it ain't a good plan. My dad's been gone for 11 years. My dad, maybe he made it into the realm of heaven. I think he might have. He was a good man. I love my dad. He tried hard. He was a good man. He was true to what he believed to be right. And I think that should get you into heaven. But my mom has been left behind. And now she's losing her mind completely. Dementia is really kicked in the last few weeks here. She's moving into full care next Monday. I think it's not going to be good for her. No. Nothing is good for her. This is not good for my mom. My mom was a wonderful woman, and she did her best too to do what was right. And she when she was able to think and talk a little bit about it as she was really losing her memory, she doesn't understand why Dad was gone, and she's not.
Yeah.
What is she still doing here when Dad's up in heaven? And now she's miserable because, oh boy, nothing. It's really hard. And if there was a God, my mom would be with her husband up in heaven where they belong. And so, my dad, before he died, actually, maybe he didn't get to go to heaven because of what he said to me before he died. He said, I've been really thinking about it. And it looks to me like there is no true religion. Because all of these religions think that they're the true religion.
Exactly.
And all of these religions suffer the same type of horrible things that happen to everybody in life. Life is full of these sorts of things. And the Sunday school bus on its way to summer camp goes off the road and kills children sometimes. And it doesn't matter what religion that you're following, horrible stuff happens. Churches catch fire and burn down. People die, And just ordinary stuff like me. My mom and dad were good members of the church for all of their lives, gave a lot of money to the church and a lot of devotion to the church. And if that was all real, then my mom should be with my dad right now, not suffering down here, really suffering down here, waiting for her body to give up because her mind is already given up.
Isn't it statistically proven that most women outlive their husbands? Yeah, most of the time, eh? Yeah. And you know what? I think heaven is when our aura gets to join all the other auras on this planet. Because they're there, a plant or animal, or we become part of that energy. And maybe that's what the good feeling is about. Yes, you are, right?
I am a spiritual person. I don't know what this is all about. This energy that is this universe and the vibrations that make it all stick together and be what it is are so far incredible that I have, who knows about any of that stuff. I don't believe in the God that what's going on this planet is all a plan, and starvation and coronavirus and my mom's situation or our family's situation and so much other hardship that's happened all through the history of life, not just human life, but all life. I just can't buy that that's a plan of a God.
Sorry, somebody just said there's no beer in heaven because there's no toilets. It made him laugh too.
Yeah, well, you think about all these things, it makes me laugh too. It's kind of sad,
Thank you.
It's kind of sad that millions and millions of people have died in wars with one group fighting on behalf of their God against another group fighting on behalf of their God. So many wars, so much hardship, so much nastiness, the Catholic Church with all of their ills. The count at this point, and I don't know, they've got to start actually going underground and bringing these remains back. But it's around 9,000, looks like bodies of what could be children that are scattered around these residential schools that they put them into.
It's kind of...
I don't know how much of that is what, but I know that there's horribleness in there, a whole bunch of it, So yeah, where was God? Where was God through any of this?
It doesn't look so good right now, does it?
It does not.
No,
it never has.
It looks like it's the opposite of what it's supposed to be.
It really does.
It really does. It does. Yeah. And what a good way to get people to believe in your faith by pretending to be something else, right?
It's a really messed up world out there.
It is. Yeah.
And we need to unmess the world up.
Wow.
We need to reset how governments work.
Yes.
We need to rethink, what is and isn't in the realm of other people for business. Most of the stuff that we've got government involved in now, and I mean most because most of what government's involved in with respect to enforcement is to do with drug laws. Most of that stuff is a direct violation of human beings and their rights to pursue whatever it is they want to pursue. They're not intentionally causing significant harm to somebody else. They're simply chopping up some mushrooms or drying out some flowers and ingesting it because they believe there's something of value for them in doing that, And that's not a crime. It should never have been called a crime. It has completely distorted our entire understanding of what justice and criminality is. It used to be simple. When I was taking law in school, it was relatively simple the way it was put to me. A crime was intentionally causing harm to other people, and we had this common law where we'd been working for a couple hundred years to figure out, how to decide a innocent until proven guilty, and it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, and juries of your peers, and having the ability to meet your accuser in the courtroom, and all of that stuff that had been, I thought working towards some sort of a system that would be, somewhat fair.
And then the people who make the law start bending it and say you can't help out people save lives with cannabis because cannabis was illegal, right?
Well, this is the mess.
Now they start bending the laws, allow deaths to happen because they won't give you your permit.
It's the mess that happens when things aren't congruent, when things aren't reasonable.
Yeah.
It's not reasonable to make it a criminal offense to have some dried flower tops that have never harmed anybody in any significant way.
And saves people's lives.
And can save people's lives and can give you a much, much better health, can make clothing for you, can make cement for you, can make
we know it helps with diabetes and cancer and all kinds of things.
All kinds of things. And I made a movie back in we released it in 2010. It took a couple of years to put it together. It's called Still Trippin', the Trans-Canada Highway. You can see it on YouTube. And the whole theme of that movie was, why is cannabis still illegal? Because even back then, in 2008 and 9, when we were putting that together and going around across the country interviewing activists, it was ludicrous. There'd already been enough information come to light about the original lies that had been told that drove reefer madness and drove prohibition, And now the truth's coming out about, oh my goodness, it actually is real medicine that's been used for thousands of years through hundreds of cultures. And oh, look at that. We have an endocannabinoid system, which they discovered by trying to prove that cannabis had no medical value. Mm-hmm. Instead, they found out that cannabis not only has medical value, they are the chemicals that supplement the chemicals that our body creates to deal with trauma and inflammation and pain and all the things that aren't quite right in the human body. Our body creates these chemicals that goes and deals with all that stuff. And the chemicals are identical to the cannabis compounds, the chemicals in cannabis. It's a supplement to our endocannabinoids. So they found that out. Yeah. Well, that should have changed everything right there.
They should have. But they can't go back because now they told us
the Ledane Commission, the Schaefer Inquiry, those things. No, not the Schaefer. In any case, in the 60s, and here we had the Ledane Commission in Canada, came to the conclusions that there's not being people driven violent and insane by cannabis. There's no justification for using the criminal law against this plant. Yet here we are. Mm-hmm. So that happened in the 60s. They went from that report saying that cannabis made you violent and insane to saying, oh, okay, well, it just makes you lazy and apathetic.
Sure.
More lies.
Sure.
More bullshit.
We're here every week.
But no reason to use the criminal law at that point. Now, if this plant isn't making people criminally insane, violent, and killing them, it's just making them a little bit lazy. Well, you can't use the criminal law against that on free human beings, but they continued on. So back when we made that movie, it was a real legitimate question. Why the hell is cannabis still illegal?
Yeah.
Myself as an activist at that point had spent close to 15 years, trying to expose the truth and thinking that we had done a pretty good job of it and in really showing that these are just lies about cannabis harming people in any way at all. Here's the real truth, and man, oh man, is this ever a great plant? Mm. And so here we are, it's still illegal. We're still knocking our heads against that same RCMP brick wall. What the hell? So we made this movie. And the answer to the question, spoiler alert, if you want to watch the movie and you don't want to know what the answer to the question is, the question we asked all through that movie to all the different activists as we went across Canada, the answer is because it's so valuable.
Wow.
That's the true answer.
Yeah, it's very valuable.
It is so valuable that many powers that are involved with other things that are in competition with which cannabis is valuable for, that have patents on their products, are able to control their products within the marketplace, don't want to compete with a plant that any farmer should be able to grow. Anybody could just grow for themselves and have the medicine that you need. You can use the fibers to turn into clothing or whatever. You can use it to build houses with if you want to turn it into hempcrete. Yep. You can use it to fuel your vehicles if you want to extract the ethanol from
Lots
it.
of stuff, make rope.
It's just one of the most valuable, non-harmful things.
And hearts are good for you in your smoothies. Yeah. Out of the Closet says that they held a patient back 3 months because they tested positive for cannabis. They said it would interfere with anesthesia. Now that shouldn't be wrong. They should just be able to know what cannabis does and be able to balance out the anesthesia. I went under anesthesia and I've been using cannabis for over 40 years.
Here's what happens, is that because they're lying about cannabis and now it doesn't mesh with things like that, it's not going to be a problem with anesthesia to have used some cannabis. But they don't want to know that. They want it to be a problem. So they make a problem where there is none. They create one where there was none. Because they need to be able to say, oh, well, this is why, It's all bullshit. We're living in a world full of fake news. Yeah. And most of that fake news is resulting from the lies that we're being told about cannabis, the other substances as well. Coca is not a bad plant at all.
No.
Used by millions of people around the world in ways that help them be productive. Of course, anything can be abused. You take the concentrate of anything and it's going to have more power and more power to be abused. But prohibiting something doesn't make it go away.
Nope.
It makes it more attractive to a large segment of the population who doesn't like being told they can't do things. It makes it attractive to young people. Yep. This is one of the real crimes about drug prohibition, is what it does to our young people. it confuses them about what the truth is big time, because they're being lied to about, all these things. Alcohol is great, and watch out for cannabis. It involves them in criminal activity because it's been labeled criminal. It's not really criminal when your uncle needs something for his sore knee, and there's no store he can get it from. He can't find a doctor who's going to give him permission to get it through the government system. He's got to rely on somebody to get it for him. So chances are that's going to be a minor that's involved in transporting this now criminal substance to this person who needs it for medical value. And now that young person is a criminal.
No, it's a criminal.
And maybe they don't get caught and get treated like a criminal in the criminal justice system, but they're a criminal according to the criminal justice system.
The name.
So, as such, they start acting like such.
Yep.
They start hanging with other criminals. It's criminal behavior becomes merged and diluted and overlapping and confusing about what is and what isn't criminal. This is a mess, and it needs to stop. And I don't know when we're going to get to that point. Jack Herer, when he wrote his book 35 years ago, or 45 years ago now, I guess, he thought it should take no more than 10 years. He had put all that effort in. He had uncovered all of these truths. He had put them together so succinctly and articulately into that book. And that book was getting out there. And I know that he felt that it should only take 10 years, which is still, you would think, a long time.
Yeah,
it feels like a long time.
Then,
But trying to overturn decades of super media lies that had permeated our entire society. My grandmother went to her grave believing cannabis had to be the devil's weed. God didn't even create it. And she was a staunch Christian. When she put that to me, she was 100 years old at the time, and she put it to me that God did not create this plant. Because I told her to go to the first page of the Bible and look at where God created all of the seed-bearing herbs. It says it right there. It says that they are for everyone. It says that they're very good. And I wanted her to read that because I was proud of myself, and I wanted her to be too. But she could not deprogram herself from the decades of lies that she was told about cannabis being the reason somebody killed their family, and cannabis being the reason people didn't go to work anymore, and all the ills of society were blamed on cannabis, and she bought it because why wouldn't you?
And where did cannabis come from? The devil.
The devil.
Because God didn't create it, so the devil must have done it.
I said,
right?
Grandma, the devil didn't create any plants.
Yeah. And do you think the devil would have just stopped at one plant?
He did. Well,
he would have done a lot of other stuff if he had that power.
I shut up at that moment.
Yes.
She was really agitated. She was 100 years old, and I was not going to agitate her any further.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I'd have pushed her a little bit, the devil also created the poppy. And he also created the coca plant.
Oh, wow.
And maybe even wheat, because it was being turned into whiskey, and she was quite a staunch anti-alcohol person. I don't know about the wheat thing. But sure, I mean, the logic has to be then that, while the source of opioids, which is now a problem in China and here and, Britain and whatever, must also be an evil plant, But it's just... we've been up against this stigma, these lies that have been going on for all this time, and it is deeply, deeply entrenched.
Yeah.
Many of our older people are going to have to go to their graves believing that there was good reason for cannabis to be prohibited with the criminal law and for people to have their lives ruined because, oh my God, they were starting to get involved with cannabis. It's going to have to happen because they're not going to be convinced any other way. I don't think. And maybe the reason for that is because really... we're still up against that same group of liars telling lies.
I think probably like Isabel's generation, things will start changing because
I hope so.
Because they're the young ones growing up with it being legal now, and there's parents like me who are not hiding it and not making it curious to them. There are still, I see other parents who tell me to please hide your cannabis, Glenn, or when you're coming to our house and stuff. It's like, okay, you shouldn't really do that, but I have to respect them, right? But and it's too bad that they've been given bad information, and
that it continues.
Yeah.
I saw CTV. CTV is an evil corporation. I saw they ran a story about some person who believes that his psychosis was brought on because of the large amounts of THC that he had consumed.
Dr. Phil must have told him that.
and that this must be happening with other people too, and so it must be a real problem. And give me a break.
With the amount of people that use cannabis in the world nowadays,
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that large amounts of THC couldn't contribute to some individuals' psychosis, and it could be a problem for them. I'm not saying that cannabis is perfectly benign and harmless for everybody,
Yeah.
and that everybody can handle it, and they can handle all the high concentrates, and everybody should be smoking diamonds and whatever. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that for thousands of years, it's been medicine through hundreds of cultures. It has been used for its euphoric value throughout religion and hundreds, if not thousands of years. And here in our modern world, in not just Jamaica, but here in North America, here in Vancouver, we have consumed millions and millions of doses, billions of doses of cannabis.
And if there was
High-dose edibles since I was a teenager. We put it on pizza. We made it into brownies. I greened out numerous times. People have been using high-dose edibles.
When was the last time you greened out?
I greened out, eh?
I can remember my last green out. London, Ontario, in my brother's Lazy Boy chair. He gave me some oil or something, and boy, I was like, wow, gone. I passed right out in the chair.
I wouldn't call it greening out.
No? Where you feel like the waves,
when I first smoked butter at Greg Williams' house.
Yeah.
Greg, my close friend. It's been a year now that we've been without you.
Well, it's been a year since his funeral.
Yeah,
which was yesterday.
It's so sad, and I miss him so much. And now we got 420 coming up here. We'll do a big tribute to Greg, I'm sure. But yeah, at Greg Williams' house, I got to try this crazy new thing that several of my friends had been into. Carol Gwilt, for example, was heavy into it and really loving it and telling me about it. And I was going to try it. And so Butter King was there. He had his podium set up. When I finished the responsibilities I had at the party there, I decided, okay, now I can have some fun and relax. And I stepped up to the podium, and Butter King gave me this monumental flipping glob. It wasn't a dab. It was back before we even called him glob. Yeah, he does it to everybody. And oh my goodness, and I'm just like, wow, I'm kind of reeling. I kind of remember flying. I kind of remember that I was doing loops in front of the podium there, and I was into like my second loop around, and he says, get back over here. You can't be flying around on one wing.
He does, yeah.
And that's what he said. So I somehow stopped at the podium and took another monumental glob. And at that point, I wasn't flying around the room anymore. I was plunked down in the seat that was right there. They had like a sofa.
Oh, he had the round booth too there.
He had the podium thing set up.
Yeah, the podium was there,
with the big chair.
And then along the wall there was some round booths.
He had the big throne.
The throne?
Yeah,
I don't remember the throne.
It was Don Briere's throne.
Okay.
And it was Butter King's podium.
Okay.
But man, I didn't move off that couch for like 3.5 or more hours.
Your brother said that to me too once. Put me on my on the couch.
So I don't know if that's not really greening out. I didn't throw up.
No. Well, you don't have to throw up to green out, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the criteria is for greening out.
I think greening out is when you go from consciousness to unconsciousness, right?
Maybe the first time. No, it wouldn't have been the first time. I'd already had experiences with some of the pizza that we made.
Because if it happens with alcohol.
Like the first time I ever tried Afghani hash. This tiny. I was selling cannabis to people. My supplier was a very interesting guy. He worked for executive limousine service, driving around in big limousines, and he would bring in all this exotic weed. My belief early on, I'm a bit of a fart smeller. My belief early on was that if you're going to sell cannabis, you should sell the best cannabis.
Yeah, of course.
Because then you get to smoke the best cannabis.
Yes,
I was all about smoking the best cannabis.
And
the Thai weed, and the honey oil, and the blonde Lebanese hash, all these things. So now he has this black Afghani hash. We go up to his apartment. We hot knifed back in the day.
Yeah,
the original way of dabbing was through hot knives. We always had a pair of hot knives, on the ready.
Yep. And
I wish I had something I could.
And a propane torch.
I mean, I only got this great big brick of hash
right now. Which I wasn't convinced it was hash, but you convinced me it's hash.
But he took off just this tiny little bit. And it literally was something like that.
That really, eh?
It was just the smallest little thing. He rolled it into a little ball, so it was a little bit bigger than that, but not much.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that. I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck is he thinking? What the heck is this? You know, when he heats up the knives and picks up the hash and gives me what was there. Of course, it expands into quite a bit of smoke.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And at that moment, I lost all memory of everything for I don't know how long. But the next thing I realized was I was standing out on the balcony of his apartment looking out at stuff and realizing I was there and realizing that I hadn't remembered anything since I had taken that hit.
Oh, wow, eh?
So, yeah, there you go.
Was it Temple Balls hash? Was it like
it was just black Afghani hash.
Black Afghani hash.
It wasn't from Nepal. It wasn't Temple hash. It was just... But... You know, subsequently you find out that some of that would have been laced with the opium. Mm-hmm. And maybe that was, I don't know, I can't say at this point. It was many, many, many years later before I started hearing those stories about some of that black hash was laced with the opioids.
Yeah.
Or opium.
Yeah, because it would have white lines through it, and that's what the Temple Balls hash was. It was layers of black hash, and you would see little white lines going through it. I actually had it.
Temple Balls, eh?
Temple Balls, that's what they called it.
Yeah.
I smoked it a couple of times.
This is truth, hope, and change.
But, another thing about selling or having good weed and selling good weed is the smile on your friend's face when he says, "Man, that was really good weed."
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's another part of selling and having good weed.
It's a wonderful experience smoking weed.
And I love bringing it across the country where people don't always get BC weed, and you bring the BC weed. And
on the Freedom Tour.
Oh, man, you're like, wow.
Butter King was one of my early sponsors.
Yeah.
He didn't give me money.
No.
What did he do? He did pay for the insurance for the 5 months that I was on the road in 2006.
5 months.
He paid for my insurance for 5 months for my vehicle.
Wow, that's nice.
And he gave me a bunch of butter to take with me to let people try. Not to sell, but to let people try. So I got to hit people up all across Canada.
Oh, there you go. And hit yourself up, too. Is that why you don't do dabs anymore?
No. I don't do dabs anymore because of that first experience at Greg Williams' place with the dabs. That I didn't like that.
Wow.
I didn't like not being able to move.
It.
Well, I'm an energetic person.
So you're like the guy who's trying edibles first time. Nobody told him to go low and slow, and he just did that, and you didn't like it because you didn't expect it. But when you
it was too much for me. And even tiny little hits of that butter.
Well, yeah,
was a lot, man. I mean, that would put you in your seat. I would give out on purpose.
I would do triple dabs of this stuff.
It got to people started doing more and more and more, but you don't need to.
No.
With cannabis, less is more.
Yes.
It really is.
But your levels do get raised.
Yeah, you can raise your tolerance, and so less is more. And I purposely would put out, like, I talked about that little thing of Afghani hash there.
Yep.
A little ball
Yep.
that was small, but I mean, you could see it there. It was a little bigger than what I put out there. But when it came to butter was 10 times
stronger than the hash, yes.
I don't know about that Afghani hash.
It's a concentrate.
I mean, I can't say it was about that Afghani hash.
Right?
Well, yeah, it's still an extract. It's still concentrated when you take out the plant matter.
But I don't know if it's an extract. No, hash wouldn't be an extract.
Well, of course you're extracting. You're extracting
cannabinoids. It's the plant matter
and
pushed together.
Well, you eliminate the plant matter. That's the idea.
Yeah.
You just want the resin balls.
Yes.
You get them by either a dry sift or by cooling it down, freezing it, and then they become brittle, and then they fall off. But the whole idea of hash, that's why you have the different levels of screens in the bags, is to get those resin balls isolated from the rest of the plant matter.
Yeah.
And then once you have that, you can compress it into this. If you took a microscope and looked at that through the microscope, just onto the top of that, what you would see is a whole bunch of round little tiny resin balls all mashed together in what looks like almost pavement. Looks like almost tar out on the road there.
Pat says hash is less potent than concentrates by 20%.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah. Concentrates because it's concentrated.
Yes, and it's also
this isn't concentrated,
or
propane but they've extracted all just the cannabinoids. So this is still really strong, but concentrates is another step up from there.
But before bubble bags and bubble hash, we still had hash, Neil.
Oh, sure.
70s. So when I was told that it was a bunch of guys running through the fields. girls running through the fields where they were growing these plants.
I hope it was girls.
In these suits, and they would take the rub that we now have
off.
To make hash, right?
And that's doing the same thing. That's extracting the resin glands off of the plant. The resin glands are very sticky.
Yes, they're very sticky.
And so they will stick to you, and then that's how that works.
Basically,
but anytime you look at hash through a microscope, what you're going to see is a big mash of individual resin glands all put together there.
Nice.
And that's what that is. Nice. But that night at Greg's place, I didn't like that I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I wanted to get up. I wanted to get up and go and talk to people and have conversations, and I couldn't get up. And I didn't like that very much.
Yeah.
So after that, I became very careful about dabbing. I would take the odd dab and just see, and sure enough, it would be like all of a sudden I'm just slowed right down. My brain's not moving very fast. My body doesn't want to move. And so I didn't dab
for bedtime.
So when I went across Canada with that big chunk of butter, before the cops took it away from me in Tabor, the point is that I wanted to show people just how powerful this stuff was.
Yeah.
So I would put such a tiny little bit down. For those of you that might be watching that I met on the Freedom Tours and you got to experience butter with me, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I would make it so you could barely see what I put there. Mm-hmm. And I'd have people say, "Are you kidding me? Give me a break. What is this?"
Yeah, because you just see me. I put like 2 pieces in my dab right.
And so then what we had back then was we would take it and put it onto. I had a plate. Butter King's brother.
There's some butter. Show them how small.
Yeah, this is actually butter. And so, you'd barely be able to see it. I'm telling you, seriously, it would be that big. It would be just that.
And they were laughing at you because it was
And they're laughing
small.
at that because they'd never experienced anything like that. They need to smoke a whole quarter-ounce of ditchweed out in rural Ontario before they get high at all. And I'm saying, this is weed, and you better sit down before I give you this. And they'd be like, give me a break, right?
Yeah.
So then what I had that Butter King's brother had made was a torch lighter where they had added a little titanium plate that would fold down over top of the flame at just the right height, and that titanium plate would heat up to red. It had a little dimple in it, and so now you would take a pin and you would touch that with a pin, and this one would have been like the size too. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it if you haven't tried it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're not going to believe what I'm going to say. Yeah. But if you take that and put it onto just a slightly red titanium plate, it will expand into so much smoke. And if you capture that and get it down, when you blow out the smoke, you will be amazed.
I remember my very first dab pipe was a titanium nail that had a bowl in it with 3 holes around the outside of the bowl.
Exactly.
You would put your dab in the middle when it was hot, and you would inhale it, and it would suck in all the smoke. But yes, it would expand.
It would only take a tiny little bit, expands into a huge amount of smoke.
Well, like we could put this little bit in my pipe here, and we can see how much smoke, how much smoke this gets out, right?
So and then people would be like, "Holy
I don't think this is going to be
crap,
very much,
man!"
But we'll see. All right, we'll give it a shot.
Give it a shot. See,
because it's not like a hot knife.
It's not the same as a hot knife or on a hot thing like that. We should almost do those sorts of things. You know, if I pre-planned my
This is a Puffco Peak. I know somebody was asking. This is a Puffco Peak. This is a really nice pipe.
If I pre-planned my shows like some people do, we would know that we were going to talk about that, and I would have one of those little hot, torchlighter things, and we would do that to show you. But and what was really from just nothing, right?
From nothing,
from basically nothing. It's amazing how much is in those concentrates. That's why it's concentrated. But the other thing is that I was now meeting with people on my tour in these town hall meetings, in these basements of people that were having a little get-together, that were serious medical users. You know, they were wanting to come and see me and see what we had for coming from Vancouver. And so that I had people get up out of their wheelchairs. Yeah. I had people that couldn't stop shaking until I gave them that dab, and their hands would stop shaking.
And then they could do their own dab.
Miracles. I'm telling you, I witnessed miracles with that butter. I came pretty quickly to understand that what I was dealing with, what that stuff is, a proper concentrate done properly, is the absolute cutting edge of medicine and what medicine is supposed to be.
When it concentrates, I don't need to smoke a joint for about 2 or 3 hours after I'm doing a couple of dabs.
Right.
Whereas when you smoke a joint, maybe in an hour you want to smoke another joint.
Yeah.
So that's why and also I'm finding out that I'm coughing a lot more when I smoke weed instead of doing my vapor. But being that that's a vapor, right? Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, you cough a little less for sure when you're vaping. You still should cough at least the first time you have a puff in the day, because that's
if you don't cough, you don't get off.
It's not about getting off.
Yeah.
It's about clearing out your bronchia.
Yes, it does clear it out because
When you spit that stuff out, you'll see it's a kind of like a jelly.
Yeah, it is.
And it's got all kinds of little brown specks in there, the things that are, in pollutants just from your regular day-to-day going through life. You get these pollutants in there, and it clears it all out for you, and that's how you start your day.
Your joints tighter, Glenn. All right, thanks. Vapor harsh on the lungs. No, not for me. No, this vapor is pretty good. I only do my vapor about 550 degrees. I find that 700 degrees is hard vapor hard on your lungs.
Right.
But a little bit I only use the green level on here. There's 4 levels. There's I think a white, purple, green, and red. Red being the hottest on your Puffco, and I use the green.
So when you're just rolling joints,
I act more on loose joints. Okay.
You're getting the cannabinoids, which are those resin glands that you would see concentrated in the hash there if you looked at it, just a whole bunch of them all put together. They're on the flower tops there. But when you break that up and you roll it into a joint, you're getting a fair bit of chlorophyll. You're getting a plant matter. Mm-hmm. You're burning carbon that you wouldn't otherwise burn. If all you were getting was those resin glands, then they don't actually even light on fire. They melt. And as they melt, the outer skin of them releases the cannabinoids that are inside, and that's how all that works. So that, when it really came down to what are the potential harmful effects of people smoking cannabis, and the comment, of course, is always, well, anything that you smoke is going to be harmful because you're inhaling, which isn't necessarily true. You're inhaling vapors. If you eliminate the plant matter and you're just smoking it in concentrated form or extracted form, then you're not getting that carbon, you're not getting that plant matter, and it's not catching fire, and you're not going to have the one consequence that could happen if you smoke too much carbon. If you smoke too much of that chlorophyll, that plant matter, the carbon, you can get chronic bronchitis.
Yes.
But that's it.
That's it.
Now, chronic bronchitis is nothing to laugh at. It can be a really devastating condition to have for people if you can't breathe properly, if you're constantly coughing and having trouble catching your breath. Yeah. It can be serious. But it comes from smoking large amounts over long periods of time of swaggy weed that had, more carbon than cannabinoids, not high quality buds. Smoking it, like I said, in rural Ontario, they have to smoke a quarter ounce at a time just to get a buzz.
Yeah. I remember that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So when that's the case, you could be getting chronic bronchitis as a condition that develops over years of time. But that's the only real thing.
Yeah.
Really, there's nothing else to be concerned with cannabis. The concentrates and the extracts, and some of just the high-quality flower tops, and certain individuals with a low tolerance can impair. Yeah. You can be impaired.
Yeah.
You want to be careful. If you're inexperienced with cannabis, if you don't really understand the effects of cannabis, you need to be careful about operating heavy equipment.
Don't smoke the government weed either. And Pat's going to help us with the temperature of the dabs with this new dabster. He's got that device.
That's right. I heard about that. I'm looking forward to hearing about more of that.
So it'll sit underneath your pipe, and it'll tell you the temperature of what your bowl is, so you don't have to heat it up red hot and then wait 30 or 40 seconds for it to cool down. Yeah. You can still do that because you can watch the temperature gauge drop down, but you'll be able to heat it to the temperature that you want your bowl at, and then do your dab right away.
Nice.
Right. So that's going to be really cool. Yeah.
Just making it easier, and I hate to use the word safer because we're not dealing with anything that's of any great danger here. No. But making it, like I say, the cutting edge of medicine, the cutting edge of being able to use things in ways that don't involve, smoking a whole bunch of plant matter. If you want to smoke plant matter, that's your business. The vast majority of cannabis smokers who are chronic smokers and smoke a lot of cannabis don't develop chronic bronchitis. It's primarily people who are smoking pretty shitty weed that have to smoke way more of that shitty weed to get the results, or people that have different immune systems, different chemical reactions in their bodies or whatever. But it's rare.
If your weed is burning black, put it out, man, because that's got some pesticides in there.
Yeah, if it starts sparking,
if it's sparking, don't
you probably
smoke
shouldn't smoke that.
And this is why I always kind of laugh at when people say that weed's been laced with fentanyl and stuff like that, because if you lace your weed with it, it's going to burn black, and you're going to know that there's something on your weed. So I don't know.
That's never been a thing.
I know that it has had meth on it, though. I've actually smoked some weed
seized a can of, and maybe that's true. I mean, and some people do put coke on with their weed and other things like that.
Yeah.
But they're not going to sell you weed with coke on it or fentanyl on it or anything like that without upping the charge, for one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the thought that they're going to give you that so you'll become more addicted and then you'll buy more weed laced with coke or whatever on it. I mean, these are ludicrous lies that are told to try to discourage people from using the underground marketplace. That's all it is.
It is.
There's been seized cannabis that was cross-contaminated with other seized drugs, and then they proclaimed that, we found this cannabis that it was laced, and it wasn't. Because, it's not a thing.
They want you to be scared.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
And if there was proper education about it, and if there was proper in-person storefront access to cannabis, just like you go and buy a chocolate bar, then we wouldn't have any of these issues, So, it's just... there
is an update from London. Yes, it's still going. They had about 150 people this week.
Cool. We'll get to that shortly. What's going on?
Nice. I just remember because I'm stoned.
William Hicks has been put in Facebook jail.
Yes.
He's a bad boy, I'm sure. He probably said something bad against the Trudeau cartel.
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. Or maybe he even said the cannabis was good or something. I don't know, but it's just disgusting that Facebook decides to put people in jail. And that I've been demoted. And it wasn't even anything cannabis or regime knocking oriented. It was stupid things. It was something I reposted about a bunch of drones that were flying over Mexico and creating all sorts of really cool shapes.
Yeah.
And apparently that wasn't as real as it looked. I don't know.
Really?
I just reposted it for comments. If it's not real, lots of people in Facebook land will tell me it's not real. But I don't want Facebook to come along and say, hey, that wasn't completely real, and so now you're demoted, man. Nobody's going to see your posts for a while. And so that's what the stupid Facebook says to me, is that for 90 days, my posts are going to be low priority.
Facebook, it's working, because I was wondering today why I haven't seen any Neil's posts lately.
There you go.
I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, I gotta go check and see Neil's posts.
Yeah, I'm still posting stuff, but Facebook's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Jeez, restricted here, yeah.
But another thing I wanted to mention is that when it comes to extracting cannabis, extracts and concentrates can be at the cutting edge of medicine, but there's proper ways to do it, and there's improper ways to do it. There's a lot of people that are putting concentrates into pens, for example. They're putting it together with a medium that is not healthy. People should not be smoking that stuff. And there's other things like that.
Distillate in pens.
Distillate should be fine.
Yeah.
But, some of the other thinners that they use are not healthy, should not be smoked, what have you. And so I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks that there's a group that are coming together and doing some really cool things with FECO. FECO is full extract cannabis oil, which is cannabis oil that is properly extracted and used as a base for edibles and for treating people with a whole bunch of other things. And so look for more announcements from that, by the way. There will be a launch of an app coming up in April to do with that, to help people navigate how to use FECO in many different ways for many different things. And all. You're not going away, are you? You're going to come and say hi at some point, aren't you?
Oh, back fine.
Okay. Landlord's in the house. We're gonna get a special visit from the landlord.
Yeah,
and he just brought you.
I finally got the hat that matches my sweater.
A Gilligan hat. Look at that.
There we go. See, now we're.
If I didn't know better, I'd think you were Gilligan right here, right now.
I think I'm gonna be wearing this for 420.
Yeah, I think so too. all you need is pants to go with it.
There we go. Hey, maybe
Yeah.
Doug, maybe
I'll get Douglas's don't cover
pants.
up the CannaMatch.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I just
We want to talk about
CannaMatch,
CannaMatch.
sir. I got a hat on.
But
now.
yeah, so the FICO Institute, which is a physical building that's in process for being constructed, will house research and development, treatment, a whole bunch of different things to be able to help people going through end-life, cancer situations, people suffering from addiction and other things as well, and an app that's going to go along with that, and it's going to be all based on the best science.
Yep.
And that's what the real focus is of the group, is let's figure out the best way to extract the cannabinoids from the cannabis plant. Let's figure out the best way to put them together in formulations that are helpful, probably different formulations. If you're an insomniac, for example, and you want to use FICO to help you sleep, then you would probably use a FICO that's high in CBN, the cannabinoid that assists people sleep.
Yeah.
And some FICO would be high in CBD or higher in CBD than others.
Yeah.
Some FICO would be an overlap of all the different, or many of the different strains, so that all the different cannabinoids have a proper profile of the right amount, whatever the right amount is, based on science, based on how the cannabis plant works, how these cannabinoids all work amongst each other, the symbiotic relationship that they have as they amplify and synergize each other, and how all that works. We're going to be spending a lot of time looking into the science of it, and then for tailoring it for individuals and how it affects for different individuals. So yeah, very, very excited to be working with these folks. Very excited. There's going to be an announcement coming up probably before 420.
Okay.
And
I was
so
going to ask you, is it coming out on 420?
I think we're talking about earlier in April.
Okay.
To launch it, so that there's a bit of a lead up to 420. We want to take that opportunity to educate people.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with 420 in your part of the world if you're not in this part of the world, but very excited that there's going to be a 420. It's a different organizing group, although some of the same people are involved. We're going to, certainly work together with what we've learned over the years.
420 with Barge Chilling Beach this year, because
Barge Chilling Beach.
The barge will be there. Who needs Cypress Hill when you've got the barge, right?
Maybe we could get a band up on the barge playing for us.
Really, there you go.
Maybe we could get Cypress Hill back up on the barge playing for us. You never know.
Yeah, we got the barge there this year, because that's on Sunset Beach, right? Isn't it? And they're taking it apart. Thank you for the compliments about the hat.
Is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, they're
there?
going to take it apart piece by piece.
Wow,
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do with the pieces.
I think they're going to try to auction them off and then give the money to charity.
Well, that would be good.
That would be good. Yes,
These are great opportunities to do stuff like that.
Yeah, and this is part of Vancouver history now. Barge Chilling Beach, the barge that washed up.
Hey, landlord, why don't you grab one of those fold-up chairs and bring it in here for a few minutes?
Come sit with the other guy with the other hat.
A couple of minutes.
Stone, I lit the
Yeah, come on.
Oh dear.
Getting stoned is enlightening. It is. Looks
For me,
like Sterling's in the house.
Hey, Sterling.
Does Sterling have one of these?
So my early experiences with cannabis, based on that comment there, and cannabis is enlightening, and the mind is an amazing thing where things become associated and triggered with different memories and stuff. But when that comment was made there, right away I went to where I was when I was about 15 years of age. I used to spend a fair amount of time in forests, in the wilder area around where I lived. I always liked that. I had a tree fort usually, and I'd ride my bike down the trails and stuff. But yeah, man, I remember smoking a joint and just sitting, on a stump or on a log in the forest there, and so much information there, so much to be amazed by.
Yeah.
The little ant colony working by my right foot over here. These little bugs working over there. The
fungus
flies
that's growing
in the air.
on the
Just
tree.
everything,
Yeah,
I watched that movie, Ants. Yeah.
that was a
I
good
saw the
movie.
movie Bees, too.
And the grasshopper movie.
So, landlord, really good to see you.
Hey!
I didn't even give you a proper introduction or
we're
nothing. I just
twins,
said, go
buddy.
get a chair. Nice hats, boys.
Yeah, we need get your green hat on. There you go.
All right, I'll join you guys a little bit
It's
there.
St. Patrick's Day this month, isn't it?
Yeah.
There we go. We're wearing the green.
Oh, St.
There,
Patty's Day.
We're wearing the green.
Faith
There.
in Bigora.
There you
My
go.
sister's birthday's on St. Patty's Day.
Is it? Well, there we go.
Nice.
Happy early birthday to his landlord's
Last
sister.
year I won a Woody Woodpecker. I took her to Denny's in North Bend. I won Woody on her birthday because it's on St. Patty's.
Yeah.
So I had a good
You
day.
want a Woody Woodpecker?
Yeah.
Nice.
Animal for her.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, it's good to be in the house, man.
Yeah.
Are
it's
you
good to
looking
see
forward to 420?
Oh, 420 is like Christmas to me. 420 is the best time of. It's the most wonderful time in the town. Smoke the herb, man. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are smoking on each side of me. I better do a dab.
Okay.
Smoking my Gibson's mustache
I think
toker
we should
here.
have a global
Feel like-
marijuana march in May too.
Well,
you
we
know?
should have a march, shouldn't we?
Because the amendments.
Get Ted to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, get Ted to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was thinking June we should have an edible day, man. An edible day.
Edible
in June.
days?
Somewhere in June.
Halloween.
No.
We give out candy and stuff, edibles.
That's another time. I'm trying to fill the schedule up the year more. You know, have
Okay.
edibles in June, and then we have Cannabis Day in July, and BC Bud Day in August, and
Yeah.
and have a fall
And
sale.
Cannabis Crusader Day
Cannabis.
in September.
Yep.
Yeah, so we
Yep.
have that, and then we can have Halloween again.
Halloween, yep, in
calendar will be
October.
full, man.
There you go.
Hello, all you smokers out in smoker land. You getting medicated? Yeah, I did. I lit the other joint. You didn't see it. I lit it backwards with the filter.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Oh,
If they didn't catch it on camera, you don't never have to admit that stuff, you know.
I don't know. I have cleaner weed. You smoke weed, you clean it home so it never ends. And you have honest weed, so I must have honest weed today. I'm just being honest, just
Nice.
behind the scenes.
Well, and
Somebody's asking-
the Blue Door got closed down. How do you feel
Blue
about that?
Door.
I hope they're going to be back open soon. I don't know if that's the case.
Dave and Shannon, but apparently they're not the owners no more.
No.
I've known them for decades, and now that I got busted, this is showing that our provincial so-called police force has got their head in their butt.
Yeah.
It's legal just because.
So they're going to walk right past a bunch of people that are dealing hard drugs right there on the sidewalk, right all along that strip there that they're in. They're going to walk and drive right past those people to walk into the one place that's there trying to
help
provide a good option for people that isn't all that stuff that's killing people. And our public servants, John Horgan, Farnworth, our government, thinks it's okay to waste our tax dollars to shut down the one place that's offering a different option, a safe option to people. I am just so disgusted by this.
Confused. I would like to meet with
man.
the premier and sit down and have a powwow and give my pipe and say, you got to wake up, buddy. It's the 21st century. We're not in the 60s anymore.
No.
This is on him, and this is on Trudeau putting together, on Trudeau for allowing it to happen, for setting up a system that would allow a province to come up with this, unit of enforcement that thinks that they can give a medical dispensary a $6.5 million fine.
With no judges either.
Oh, this is so disgusting,
No
and this
Supreme
is
Court, no nothing.
This is so much corruption here. It all needs to go away now. The CSU needs to be disbanded immediately. They have just exposed themselves for being absolute corrupt bullies, abusing their power in contempt of the populace. They need to be shut down immediately. They need to
Defund.
stop all of this.
Yep.
Or we're going to have native roadblocks again. You wait. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, wow.
You got to roadblock the police, man.
Jeez.
They're so crooked, man. I wonder how much they pocket when they do a bust, man.
I don't know.
It's not like Tim Hortons or anything, but
It is my grandson's birthday tomorrow.
I see. Well,
Yes.
happy birthday to your grandson.
Thank you very much.
And I'm still upset about the Blue Door.
I am. I've gone there
And
for years, man.
they have saved a lot of lives here on the
Oh,
downtown
they've been
east
here
side.
for years, yeah.
They opened up shortly after, within a year of us getting shut down at the Herb School. Dave managed to open that place. And I was so happy to see that, especially for the women on the downtown east side, but for everybody on the downtown east side
Well, it helped
to
me.
not have the access to cannabis that was provided at the Herb School was horrible. And I was so happy when Dave opened that place up. So happy that he managed to open back up after 6 different raids over the years in the first few years that he was open. And then somehow managed to get something going on with the city of Vancouver to be able to stay open for all of this time. But for them to close him down like this, to not allow it to transition into a low barrier access store so that he can continue to provide the service he's providing to the people that aren't able to go and access through the recreational non-medical stores, this is a criminal act against this neighborhood. This is a criminal act against disabled people. And there needs to be heads rolling. There needs to be shit needs to hit the fan. People need to pay a serious price for what's just happened here. Also, for us not being able to get a license to operate with what we're doing, heads need to roll. Brian Carlisle, he was at one of our rallies. I'm not sure which one it was, if it was BC Bud Day or not. And he was talking about Benoit Seguin. He's the guy in charge, apparently, of our file with Health Canada, who says that their team is working diligently on trying to get the Cannabis Substitution Program a license, just a piece of paper with a signature, to be able to operate from a storefront instead of the RV out there. He's the one. And Brian Carlisle, in his speech, repeated over and over again, sign or resign. Mm-hmm. Sign or resign. And I said early on with all of this, like, if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way.
Right, yeah.
Don't be kicking us out of the storefront. Don't be coming and raiding our RV. Stay the hell out of our business if you're not going to help us with our business, because this business is saving lives. We're in the business of doing what government should be doing. And if they're not going to help us do it, man, they sure shouldn't be getting in our way. And they are definitely getting in our way. They're getting in Ted Smith's way. They're getting in the Sikora's way. They're getting in Don and Carol's way. They're certainly getting in our way in huge, huge ways, in our inability to reach a lot more people that we should be able to reach, and we would be able to reach if we had that piece of paper with a signature on it. The Cannabis Substitution Program has been operating for 5 years now, giving out high-dose edibles to hundreds of people to make sure that they can have an option for the hard drugs. The Cannabis Substitution Program operates in London, Ontario, in Victoria, British Columbia, under the Solid banner, and in Halifax, East Coast Cannabis Substitution Program. And we've been proving and demonstrating for all these years the safety and the efficacy of what we're doing. We're saving people's lives, hundreds of them, probably thousands of them over those 5 years. And we can't get the government to support us because they're corrupt. So, anyway, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
We just lost more people.
Yeah, and we lost somebody too in Mission, a young person that worked at Tim Hortons.
Of an overdose?
Young lady, 21 years old. She was bright. She was really friendly. Always said hi, Glenn, every morning. Always smiling and a good worker. And yeah.
It's happening all over.
I had to cry over that one. Yeah.
We just lost Wyatt. His dad was our head of security at Vandu for a while.
Yeah.
He came and helped us hand out bags a few different times. And yet, he continued on. I don't understand why the young people especially continue on. I mean, I know that it's really hard to get through withdrawal.
Yeah.
But, high-dose edibles are a way to go through withdrawal. I would think watching people die around you would be a good way to go through withdrawal as well. Like,
depends on what you're trying to bury. So what kind of trauma happened to that person? If death is more traumatic than what happened to them, and most of the time it's not. You just want to get high again, so you
some
can
people
forget about the trauma
down here, they don't care if they die.
Yeah.
They don't care if that next dose kills them or not.
No. They just don't want to remember.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of sadness going on here. We deal with it every day.
How many more days till 420?
50.
50? You got it down pat already? 50 days.
That's why we both answered.
50, I had stereo there. 50, okay.
Yeah.
50 more
50
days.
more days till 420.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
man.
will be, in Vancouver, there will be a 420. It'll be the return of 420. There will be bands, DJs, speakers, lots of entertainment, lots of vendors. Lots of vendors have already stepped up and they're wanting to secure a spot. We're going to do some of that again like we did before.
Free booths.
There'll be lots of free booth space as well, but for those people that want to secure a spot so they maybe don't have to get there so early to get their spot, we're going to do that. That's a service that we can provide.
Good.
It doesn't exclude anybody that wants to come down. There's lots of other really good spots as well.
Yeah.
But they go fairly early. If you're going to come down, or at least that was the case prior to Corona, is that they go pretty early. So if you want to have a free spot down there that's a good spot and what you consider to be a good spot with either access to being able to view the stage or traffic flow or whatever, get there early. Or you can go through, I think it's the Collective that's going to be, setting aside some spots and and hopefully being able to hold them for people.
Pat wants one. He says we got to chat about booze at 420.
Yeah, for sure. You can get a hold of me, and I'll direct everybody in the right direction to be able to do that.
There you go.
It's just in the planning stages at this point, so we're not exactly sure what the pricing structure is. We haven't, or they haven't taken any money yet, but they will. But there is quite a lineup of people that are wanting to be involved.
Yeah.
And so I'm anticipating a pretty good crowd.
Yeah.
If the weather cooperates, it's always a factor if the weather cooperates. But if the weather cooperates, I think we're going to have a lot of vendors and a lot of people that want to go there and see what we're doing for 420.
Well,
so
being the landlord, the lord of the land, no funny, no money. My sister in Calgary said, "Pray for snow, bro." What did they get? They got snow.
For 420.
All right, so
Okay.
I've talked to Eagles.
Yeah.
And they gave me salmon.
Yeah.
I talked to Willie, even though it was a free Willie. I talked to the Orca out in the Strait of Washington. He's laughing at me. I don't laugh at you, man. I'm just kidding. But I'm going to pray. We have a nice sunny day.
Very good.
You're
Wow,
really
my
blowing his
cell
head.
phone.
Is that an omen?
Yeah.
I don't believe in omens.
He smiled and it fell.
I'm going to promise you a sunny date.
Sunny. It's a Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. People want to.
It's the middle of the week. It'll be a hump
I
day.
got friends coming from the Okanagan. I got friends coming from Victoria.
I got think some Heather, Pratt, and Dave will be coming from Alberta probably.
I
so.
suspect Vancouver will be a destination for Wednesday, April 20th for a number of people. I think the
Yes.
hotels are probably going to fill up.
Yeah.
I know already people that are going to come and book hotels for that day. So yeah, let's have a great
It's gonna
420.
be fun.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
get things back to normal.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
What is normal?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there it is. Back to normal.
There's normal when his son
when my
calls.
son's calling me in the middle of the show, right? So we'll just turn him off there for a minute, maybe. Oh, I gotta do that to turn him off. At least I did turn the volume down.
We're going to do a
I
global
see Rox-
marijuana march this year,
Sterling,
too?
you got it.
I
Sterling
see-
says he's going to stay at my house.
I see.
All right,
And
Sterling,
I see
you got it.
Roxanne is wishing me a happy 420.
There
Happy
you go.
420, Roxanne. Obviously, you're not watching the show either, sending me a text instead of a chat.
Patrick,
Yeah.
Sterling, Richard, you all owe me a joint. I'm collecting rent this year.
Oh, there you go. All right, that's cool.
Very good.
And then
There
the
we
global
go.
marijuana march in May. We're going to have that.
I would think so.
I
That
hope
would be
so.
nice.
I don't know why we wouldn't.
We're going to fight for more amendments. So
We'll try not to block the roads.
I love blocking the roads.
Well, we block some of the roads, and you need to do that to make your point. You got to meander slowly, but we always have let cars go the opposite direction for the most part. There's always the cops working with us so that they block off the street so people get detoured around.
Yeah.
We don't leave people sitting too long because we never wanted to do that.
When you're going to hold
I'm not sure if I want to go there at this point, but I'm going to say I'm still disgusted with Trudeau and the mainstream media in the way that they characterized what were so many good Canadians that were out there standing up for the rights of Canadians, the rights and freedoms that we believe we have here. I don't necessarily agree with all the tactics involved with the shutting down, economically important things. But I mean, that's how you get attention. If you don't do that, they still could have got attention. I'm not saying they did it wrong. I mean, I'm saying
Just
that
the convoy
I had
across
trouble.
the country got attention.
Got
right?
attention. So
Yes.
I'm not saying I support all of that. I'm not saying that everybody that took part didn't have views that I don't agree with 100%.
They're saying there's
But-
more vaccinated people at those protests than there were unvaccinated.
And I did not see much in the way of any racism, and yet that's how they were characterized by our prime minister.
Yeah.
There was one Nazi flag that was on a truck attached to a picture of Trudeau, and that carried in the mainstream media like as if, okay, now these are a bunch of Nazi lovers, no, that's not what the message was there. Whether or not there was people that were involved in the convoy that were in favor of Nazis, I have no idea. There very well likely may have been when there's thousands and thousands of people and they're all gathering to voice their concerns, and they all have different concerns.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, myself and many, many, many other Canadians, besides the thousands of them that I know that went there, that were good Canadian people with really good motives, many, many other Canadians supported what the protest was about. Might not have supported the way it was done at all times in all ways and everybody that was there, but the idea that the government had overstepped with respect to mandates. Uh-oh, we got the Rona.
Uh-oh.
I got the marijuana
You
cough.
got bottles of water right
I
beside
support
you.
that 100%. The mandates were out of line. They were out of control. The mask mandates, the vaccine mandates are out of control, not necessary, and ineffective. Johns Hopkins University did a study into that to show the ineffectiveness of such things. Most people were going to get the coronavirus anyway. Most people that died were going to die anyway. The vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting it. It doesn't prevent you from spreading it. It simply supposedly prevents it from being more severe than it would be otherwise. Well, thank you very much for caring so much about me that you're not even going to allow me into a restaurant to have a meal. Not because I'm more likely to pass the virus or have the virus or catch the virus, but that if I did catch the virus, I would just get sicker than your average person. Thank you for caring so much about me that you wouldn't allow me into movie theaters or restaurants or even outdoor events that happened here. Christmas events, outdoor events that you weren't allowed into without being double vaxxed.
Thanksgiving.
Like, give me a break. It was not right. It should have been recognized early that was ineffective and that was putting such a burden on Canadians. We've lost so many small businesses. So many people are now unemployed. So many people have now lost their housing. If you think the cost of all of that to Canadians was worth the effort to try to stop a virus that was unstoppable, well, then I guess that's why you're on that side of this issue.
And what about
but I'm not, and many of my friends are not. Most of the people I know are not on that side of the issue. We think the government overstepped. We think the government definitely went against our rights that we thought that we had in ways that were not effective, and maybe as a short term, oh my God, this is terrible, let's try this. Maybe it's okay, but I still have a real issue when you're taking freedom away from people. But maybe that's okay. But to have it drag out for 2 years of trying to flatten the curve in 2 weeks, it's too much. It was too much. It was too much when they wanted truckers to be double vaccinated now, and the truckers had enough, and a whole bunch of other people joined the truckers. There was a lot of farmers that joined. There was a lot of people in ordinary cars that put Canadian flags on their vehicles and went to say what they could say by just being there. And for our Prime Minister to completely dismiss all of those people, a bigger protest than we've ever had in Canada, a protest that should have inspired young Canadians, that Canadians are willing to stand up and do something and say something when they think something's not right. With all of the rhetoric from our current Prime Minister in prior years in condemning India's reaction to the farmers' protest there, all the things he's been on record, I'm sort of going on, but I mean, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what's going on. This is what's not right here. Our Prime Minister needs to step down. I'm not sure what the replacement should be, but he needs to step down because he let words come out of his mouth that were more disgusting and flying in the face of freedom and what good Canadians are all about than I've ever witnessed any other Prime Minister do in the entire accumulation of their serving time, and that includes Stephen Harper. Trudeau has disgusted me worse than any other Prime Minister with what I have heard, with his response to this protest by good Canadians. I can't imagine anybody ever doing that, and yet he went ahead and did it. What he had to say, the fact he wouldn't meet with anybody, the fact that he's condemning all of them, dismissing all of them, saying it's un-Canadian, that this is un-Canadian of people to protest a government that can't be trusted and has proven itself to be ineffective of 2 years of trying to flatten the curve in 2 weeks. Enough already, but
You just need dress pants. You got your coat, your hat.
That's what I told him.
Yeah.
He just needs
Just
pants
need
to
the
go with
dress
that.
Doug Zakora, I need some pants.
You can get them online.
I know. Michelle knows where to get them. I know. But you're right.
Hey, you're gonna see May Moon. May Moon's probably got a pair that'll fit
How
you.
about all the elderly people who had to die alone, or if they were lucky, their loved ones were on the other end of a screen? Right? All those people.
I know those
right?
people.
Yes, I know.
I know. Tony
because
Montana,
you're-
one of the people that was down here, was so distraught during all that he couldn't visit with his mother.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting this too. My mom is now on
that.
next Monday being moved into full care.
Yeah.
I've been able to go and visit her. I visit her once a week, but I could go anytime and take my son. And she's got a kitchen there, and I fill her fridge every time. And she's got all of her things there, her dressers and pictures and all of these things there. But she's not able to be there anymore, and she can't be. She goes into these manic states. She has no memory, and she's distraught, and she's going door to door, and in the middle of the night, and she needs to be in full supervised care. It has to happen.
Yeah.
She's going to be miserable wherever she is.
Yeah.
But for me, I now can't go visit my mom because I'm not vaccinated, and I won't get vaccinated, and so they're going to make some special provisions. I'm going to be able to meet with her probably behind a screen in the chapel area of the home there, but it won't be like it has been, and she's going to become very disoriented as she's now only allowed to take one chair out of her room, her favorite chair, and a box of her personal belongings that will go into the drawers of the little medical bureau that they have in what is essentially a hospital.
Oh, that's it, eh?
And that's
all she's allowed to
so
bring
no
with
more
her.
familiar stuff around her. No more weekly visits with my son and I coming and trying to make her feel as at home as we can. It's horrible, and there's no good reason for it at all. I'm not bringing any virus into that place. I've been visiting her every week all through this, other than a short period. Her home was actually one of the first ones where they had a couple of cases. And
So
for a while there, I
shutdown.
wasn't allowed to visit.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, I have been able to. And I wear masks when I'm in and out of that building, not when I'm in the room with my mom. But not that the masks are effective either. We could go there, but I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-mask. Wear a mask if you want. I'm sure they do some good. I'm sure they must do some good. If you have something. If you have something and you don't want to pass it, pretty sure having that mask in front of you is going to be doing something to keep that,
But
air
before all
flow
this, you wore a mask into a store.
moisture droplets from going too far out of your face. But if you don't have it, and somebody there has those moisture droplets coming out of their face at you with your mask on, as you inhale, you're actually increasing the airspeed of the air coming into your mask through the pockets and the holes that are there. You're not protected by the mask very much. But go ahead and wear one if you want, and I'm fine with that. I don't feel they're very protective for me not having it.
And before COVID, if you walked into the store with a mask on, they'd think you're going to rob them.
Yeah.
Right? Right? So how quickly we change, right? How quickly we change, right? Yeah.
And I still can't wrap my brain around it.
I know. Now we can walk in and nobody gets scared anymore.
When I'm walking around a store with a mask on, I quite often think to myself, oh dear, I have a mask on. They're going to think I'm robbing the place.
I know,
or how weird is this? I got a mask on. I should take this off. People are going to think I'm weird. And then I look around and realize, everybody else has got one on too. So I guess I'd look weird without it. But anyway, it's been such a tough couple of years here. I really hope that we can get some normalcy.
Me too.
Coming back here a little bit, and we'll see what happens.
420 will tell us.
What are that? And cruise ships come back again?
Yep, cruise ships are coming back. Yep.
They're starting to open things
Apparently,
up.
Liverpool won a game the other day, and the place was just packed.
Oh, wow.
And,
So there you
I
go.
don't know, it's been so hypocritical. The messaging has been so here, there, and all over the place. And different science from different jurisdictions, different rules, different decisions on things, and no clear tell us the answers. By this time, 2 years into it, we should have extremely articulate people up there explaining exactly what it is, how to avoid it, what's going on here. And all we've got is so much misinformation, probably on both sides.
As you say that, my thought is that maybe they don't want to say that they have all this information because they're going to look like they were stupid assholes for doing what they did, right?
Yeah.
So do we throw the wood on the fire and let it go up, or do we just hold back and...
I'm just waiting.
I
haven't said much, as you know. If you
stuff.
watch the show, I've tried not to talk much about it. We have enough depressing stuff to talk about on this show with the opioid epidemic, and the other one is just so confusing. And it seems like there's some sort of mass hypnosis going on, where they pushed a couple of fear buttons in certain types of individuals who have just bought the entire narrative, and and they won't be convinced otherwise. And I have experience with people who are completely acting out of character and saying and doing things that were not who they were before. Mm-hmm. And when they interact with me, they seem to think I'm saying things I'm not saying. I'm not anti-mask. I'm not anti-vaccination. I don't believe in it for myself. To me, it's an experimental bunch of stuff that they want to shoot into my body without knowing what the long-term effects of this are. I don't feel scared enough of the virus to do that. Yeah. I don't feel pressured enough by all the restrictions on me by not having it done to do it. I don't want to have it in me. I want to wait and see. And I think I should have that right to do that. But if somebody wants to get the vaccine, I'm fine with that. It's no skin off of my nose whatsoever. Don't care. Hope it works out good for you. Yep. You know, hope it works out great for you. But, you know, the assault on freedoms and the lack of accurate information, trustable information, is just so rampant that...
you are reaching someone in the state of India. Hey, Scott.
Fantastic. I get people messaging me from Australia and Germany.
Sterling wants to know, does he get a hold of you for a banner?
Can he get a hold of me for a banner?
Yes.
I'm sure he could. Get a hold of John Murray.
Get a hold of John.
John Murray is going to be our banner maker person. And he's great at that. Yep. And he's, you know...
I'm sure Sterling and John know each other.
He just got... I don't know if he wants me to tell anybody this or not.
What?
John took a job, was given the job. He got the job. He applied for it, and he won the job as a harm reduction specialist in Surrey.
Nice.
Driving around with a truck full of all kinds of different things that homeless, poor people need.
Yeah.
And doing a fantastic job of that. He had a bit of a clash with one of the people that he works with in this group. She wrote a letter to the people in charge, accused him of harassment. Oh, wow. And he has been terminated.
Wow.
So now he has more time on his hands, and now he's going to need a way to pay his mortgage or his rent or whatever. Yeah. And he's a banner maker. He's a graphics guy. And so, yeah, if you got some work for John, he's a good guy. He'll do
He says he knows John, so he'll get a hold of him.
Yeah, get a hold of John. John Murray. You can find him on my friends list. You can get a hold of him through me if you want. If you're having a 420 rally and you want us to ship some banners to you, I'm sure we can do that too. Yeah. John's a good guy. John, he's going to need to pay his rent.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah,
he's awesome. The conflict was, I mean, I want to talk about why John got terminated. The conflict is that one of the women that he was involved with there in the organization, thought that he should cut back his outreach by 2 days a week. They were doing outreach, I think, every day.
Yeah.
And she felt that he should do stuff inside the warehouse and at the desk 2 days a week rather than be doing the outreach. Because what he needed was an assistant.
Yeah.
But rather than get him an assistant, they wanted him to do all the jobs and cut down on this job so he could do more on this job. And he said no. Yeah. He said, this isn't right. I've developed relationships with these people. I am very familiar with what it is that they need, and they need more of me and what we're bringing to them, not less.
Yeah.
And so that was all it was a debate with this woman that he said firmly, I don't believe that we should cut back on that service that I'm doing out in the field. I think we should get an assistant to help with the stuff that needs to be done in the warehouse and at the desk. And he got terminated just like that for that.
Wow.
So he wanted to provide more service to the people that he knows that needs it as he's come to understand their needs, and they want to provide less services. Wow. This is a place that has government money.
Right.
They're just like many of the people in this neighborhood.
Get government grants.
They get government grants.
Yeah.
It's quite lucrative. And the way that they do it, unfortunately, is they put out a model of service that they're going to provide. The government then decides to go along with that, cuts them a check, and they then go about trying to spend as little of that money as they can to actually provide the service so that they can have more of that money to buy nice new vehicles, to have nice new offices, to throw parties for their staff. And I'm not painting everybody with the same brush, but there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of groups that are doing quite nicely, thank you very much, with money that they've been given to help people that don't have any do better than they're doing. And that's a problem.
Wow.
So, that's very, very sad. So anyway.
Lots of sadness out there. Some ladies posted that a lady had claimed to be a teacher telling me that my autistic son should have been aborted because they were the first opening schools for special needs kids. There's some mean ass people out there. Sorry that you had to go through that.
The
Jake.
poor people and the sick people, which I consider all to be the disabled people. If you're disabled financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, they don't do well in this world. They're not treated well. There's not a lot of actual good services. They're having funding cut back in many areas where people needed more, not less. Yeah. It's really a shame. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up. We'll do a little bit outside with the RV out there.
All right.
I'll just set that up, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks a lot for coming on, Landlord. CannaMatch.ca, by the way, if you want to get connected with like-minded cannabis people.
We're in High Magazine, too.
Yeah, there's an app for that. There's other good things. Go to the Google store. You can find an app for CannaMatch.ca. So as you know, we talk about on the show, for anybody who watches regularly, that's what the show really primarily is about, and all the things surrounding the injustice of us not being able to do what it is that we're doing with the Cannabis Substitution Program in ways that are supported by the federal government by way of a license, a piece of paper with a signature that would then allow us to get a bank account, to work out of a storefront, to have outreach vehicles, to have other chapters of what we're doing here in other places across Canada where it's needed. And this has been going on for a very long time. We've surpassed 5 years. 5 years of trying to get government approval. We've only had an application into the federal government for coming up to a year and a half in another 2 weeks. In 2 weeks from now, it'll be a year and a half, and that's a very long time as well. But for 5 years, we've been trying to do this properly. We never hid. We never tried to hide the fact that we were going to hand out cannabis high-dose edibles to people, and we went to government right away with that. I personally went to Vancouver and got their support, got them on board, with them on board, went to City Council to try to get them on board, couldn't get them on board, went to the VPD board with my lawyer at the time, Rob Laurie, presented to them the idea of giving out high-dose edibles to help people get off of opioids. Didn't get support, but weren't really looking for it, but they really haven't interfered, and they have actually, I think, helped us to maintain what it is that we're doing here. Approached everybody at all levels of government early on with the program, had John Murray make up all kinds of banners and flyers and things, went to Vancouver starting with the first year once a week every Saturday, and then twice a week for 2.5 years after that, and put up signs all over the place saying, this is what we're doing. We're giving away cannabis high-dose edibles. We're helping people get off of opioids. I've never tried to hide a thing. I've been seeking government support and approval for all of this time. We're 5 years in. We're over 2,000 deaths in just British Columbia here, and North America wide. I'm telling you, we're in the hundreds of thousands of people have been killed by tainted opioids. During this opioid epidemic, this public health emergency, we have a solution for many people through high-dose cannabis edibles. And because of the corruption of a system that wants to maintain high profits for greedy corporate bastards that think that they can legalize by taking over the cannabis industry, wresting it out of the hands of the growers and suppliers that have been doing it, this billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry for all of these years, take it over and completely ignore the medical users and the poor people in the process. It's horrible. It's disgusting. Our government is actually backing that and supporting that, and we're trying to get them to support what we're doing. So all of that led to us finally getting a storefront. The city of Vancouver did eventually support us unanimously in a motion now 2.5 years ago. And so we're waiting for the federal government. The city of Vancouver is waiting for the federal government. The VPD are waiting for the federal government to be able to give us the approval that we need to be able to operate like any other proper business entity, be able to help people with a storefront, in-person purchasing, and the battle continues. In the meantime, we ended up booted out of the store that we were in for 5.5 months because that license wasn't forthcoming and the city wouldn't support us until the federal government did. We bought an RV. We've been selling cannabis and giving cannabis away with the program from the RV, parked out front here, for 16 months as of yesterday. 16 months we've spent in that RV. And let's go say hi to the folks out there and and see how it's going. It's starting to get dark when I leave it this late in the day, but it's been not too bad a day. It's been a little wet, but not too bad. We haven't had to put the tent out because it hasn't really been raining hard enough. There's just a little bit of moisture on the store, or on the floor, on the ground rather. This is our RV, the Ganja Mobile, the Healing Wave CSP RV, the Scooby Dooby van, as some people call it. There's Jen at the window. Hi, Jen Nelson. Wave. We have a lineup of people. Are you waiting? Oh, okay, we're not waiting. So apparently I can talk to you. How's it going?
Good.
A busier than normal day?
Yeah, our busiest in a while, actually.
Trying to fill the void now left by the blue door. It's really a shame. It would be maybe okay if everybody from the blue door knew about us here and knew that there was another outlet for them.
Well, luckily a lot of people have been sending people this way, so...
Yeah, you know, eventually the word will get out that this is where you have to go now. But it's really, really sad because there's going to be a whole bunch of people today.
The Healing Tree's closed, too.
Are they as well?
Yeah. Well, they've renamed themselves the Cannabis Tree, but still got shut down again.
Right. So we're kind of literally the only place that's available, other than maybe some people out of their rooms and stuff.
You know, the guys at the corner at Main and
yeah,
Hastings.
Main and Hastings. There's guys on the corner. They've always been there selling shake and stuff, what have you. So anyway, we're having busier days these days. We're able to handle it, but I'll tell you, I'm very unhappy about the blue door being shut down. That is really distressing. They help a lot of people, and like I say, a lot of those people don't know about us, and who knows what they're going to be doing to try to deal with their pain, you know, to deal with what they got going on in their lives. Let's go see what happens at the back door. Hey, landlord. You're going into this, are you?
Good for CBD.
All right, well, you do that. We got our signs out. Like I say, we're never trying to hide anything. We're 1 block from the police station up there. They drive by every day, all day. They all know us. They know what we're doing. If the federal government had their way, they'd shut us down. But you know, they know here what's going on. They know that we're doing good work in this community. And they know there'd be a huge fuss if they tried to shut us down as well. We're going to make as much of a fuss as we can about the blue door being shut down. That's not okay. That's a storefront. That was one of the last remaining storefronts that people had. We're trying to get back into our storefront, and now they've managed to close down the one that was actually still existing here. It's a terrible thing. So, but here we got, you know, the service that we provide, starting at Vandu, like I say, 5 years ago. Ended up in Victoria. Within 6 months they had started one there under Solid. It's over 2 years ago now that Chris Backer started one in Halifax. A good friend of mine in Halifax that saw what we were doing here, recognized the need in his community. They were out yesterday. Really, really cold. A couple hundred people lined up to get their care packs. It is really, really cold in Halifax. We don't know cold here. We think we do, but apparently we don't. And then Mary went to London, Ontario. She was one of our bakers here, our head baker for a long time. Had to move for family reasons. Started the program in London, Ontario. That's been going on for several months now. They do it every Tuesday, so they did it today. Once again, 150 or more people line up to get their care packs of high-dose edibles. Great success stories there all the time. And some support from their communities as well, but nothing from the federal government. So here's the CSP door. He's got his bag of iDose. So can we have a look in the bag?
Yeah, it's CBD gummies.
Oh yeah, that's what you got today?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
I'm not going to dump them on the ground or nothing, don't worry. But okay, so you got a couple of muffins.
oh yeah,
You got a couple of packs of the Gorilla Ganja CBDs. And I see there's a joint tucked in there for you as well.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff, man. So, and this is how that works. You go,
There you go, knocking at the door.
and then there's this little gnome that comes, because he has to be little.
Oh,
It
there
was
he
a
is.
job requirement, because you see the ceiling height isn't very much, so he had to be short. So we hired this short guy to do this.
How's it going?
And it's going very well. How's it going here?
It's been a lot of people today.
A lot of people.
I've had 30 people.
And what do you got for him?
I got this. We don't got we're kind of down on some edibles, but we got the Mad Hatter came and gave us a
donation.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
They've been big supporters lately, and Gorilla
Right.
Ganja forever.
And I changed it up, so I brought out some of these and all some of these today.
Right?
But we do have, this is Gorilla Ganja.
Yeah.
This is full CBD.
Yeah.
But we do have 1-to-1, and that's mango is 1-to-1. Half CBD and half THC, and that's 40 milligrams each.
And we've had both indica and sativa actually as the other half of that
We have
1-to-1.
black cherry that's 40 and 40, and we have raspberry that's full indica.
Right on.
And now we have some cubes. This is 40 milligrams each, and make 120 out of it.
That's
It's
from
good-
Green Wilderness. You can
Yes,
look
it
them
is.
up as well. They're great supporters of ours.
I make 120 because it's good at the end, good for people. This is 300 milligrams right here.
Wow.
Some people are scared of it because then still have this many
Well, and
left.
some people are diabetic, and some people don't want a lot of sugar, and they want to be able to get the dosage that they need
Yeah,
without having to
exactly.
consume too much of a jelly product or a cookie product.
And I have the 1-to-1 here. This is 1-to-1, 50 and 50 of
Right.
CBD and THC.
Nice.
Pretty good. Then we have the cubes again, but I made them in, these are 50 milligram ones. So that's 100 milligrams right there.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. I give two packages to people. This one here, I'm calling it 200, right? It's not 150, it's 200. This
Right,
is
because
from
it is.
Robert.
We found
This
it's
is
a little
from Robert.
stronger.
Yeah.
We do a
It's
lot of in-house
it's a
testing
lot
on things, and
stronger
when we find out what we really think they are,
It's
that's
a
what we
lot
try to tell
stronger.
people.
If I call it 200, then I can see what kind of dose people like.
Yeah.
Here's some cookies, Star Cookies. These are 100 milligrams from Joe Pepper. She
Yeah.
does a very good job. And I have some cookies from Robert. These are peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. Everybody's been doing great. Everybody's donated great. And I have some of this. I have some muffins from muffin brownies.
These are John Murray's muffins. He's a
Anyway.
multi-talented fellow for
Pepper.
sure. Oh, that's Joe Pepper.
That's Joe Pepper.
Oh,
John
interesting.
does, right.
Yeah, so those are
And
brownies actually.
These are 100 milligrams each.
Nice.
And she does a great job.
But there is John Murray who makes muffins for us as well, and that's
Yes,
really
there
important.
is.
And the Cookie Monster makes cookies for us, and those get handed out usually at the other window where people come there and they can't afford anything and they need something and they're not part of the program. We don't turn anybody away. People get at least 100 milligrams if they need that, less if they don't need as much, but whatever they need, we try to get them. That's the idea here, is we get to meet the people, we get to assess them and figure out what it is that works for them, and they help us in all that by what they choose, and then we try to tailor what we have to their needs.
This one here is 50 milligrams of THC pills,
Dirty Dave, yeah.
and they've become more popular.
Right. Beautiful. Well, you got more?
Yeah, I have Keith pills that we made here. These are 50 milligram Keith pills inside the Keith.
Beautiful.
And I have a low dose right here for the people. This is 5 milligrams. You can tell by the lightness and the darkness.
Right.
The light ones are 5 milligrams.
Right.
These are really good.
And we have suppositories, and we have topicals and
Yes,
other
we
things
do.
as well. We try to have everything cannabis related that can help
And
people.
we've had people come back that have used the topical, and they say it works great.
We've seen miracles.
We've seen great results.
Yeah,
It's
amazing
beautiful.
results.
Mary does a great job.
Yeah, not all, but most of the
Not all,
topicals.
but-
A lot of the topicals we have is made by Mary, who was our head baker here. And I've got another order in with her to get some more as well, because we do see miracles happen with that
Yes,
stuff
we
for
do.
sure. All right, I'm going to make a quick visit inside there.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you. Oh, look at these two rubbies.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm
glad
sharing
to
the
meet
honey
you
on
here
the
again.
The Roby staff.
Don't forget, 420's happening.
Yeah, Wednesday, April 20th. Here, one more.
All right, so here we are inside our little ganja mobile. This has been home for 16 months for my team out here. They're all walking with a stoop now, except for Andrew, because he's small enough to fit in here. But George and Jane, of course, they got back issues now. We're going to have to eventually get some compensation for them, I'm sure. It would be nice, Mr. Benoit Sagouin, or whoever else can help us. Maybe Carolyn Bennett, the new federal minister of mental health and addictions. Maybe you can help us. I know you've received letters and phone calls from a lot of other people that want you to support us in what we're doing here. That would be very nice. Anything before I wrap up, gang? Because I'm going to wrap up pretty quick here.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I got people
Andrew's
talking at every
Andrew's
angle here
busy
right
at the
now,
back
so.
door. That's just what's going on. It's been a busy day here at the Healing Wave CSPRV. And if the Blue Door doesn't reopen, we're going to have a lot more busy days. and difficult to deal with large numbers of people here, because if the weather's bad and we're into the rainy season now, and you know they're going to have to get wet. I mean, I do put up a tent, but I mean that's just right in front of the window. It's not like having a storefront. So, you know, do what you can for us if you can. If you can write a letter, type out an email, make a phone call to anybody that can help us, to those people that are really in charge, Benoit Sagouin and Carolyn Bennett. Those are the two people that are really supposedly in charge of whether or not we get our license and can go back into the store. But there's many, many other people as well. If you write your local MP or MLA and you tell them what's going on here and get them to contact Benoit Sagouin or Carolyn Bennett, that's even more powerful. Calling the media would help. The media really seems to be entrenched in wanting to support the legal cannabis world. I guess they want the advertising dollars, but they don't want to cover the story that cannabis high-dose edibles can get people off of opioids, and they don't want to cover the story that poor people are not getting access to cannabis like they should, and people suffering barriers without bank accounts and computer literacy or addresses and all these other things that can't access the government system online, can't afford the government cannabis in their stores. These people need to have cannabis, and you can do your part. You never know whether yours is going to be that one straw that goes on top of the camel and busts his back. Yours is going to be the one little degree of temperature that turns it up a little bit more, that boils that frog. Whatever it is, finding critical mass happens when enough people get together and each one does one thing. You can't do all of the things. You can only maybe do the one thing. But your one thing could be that one thing that achieves critical mass and makes the day and makes it happen. So please do that if you can. Let's be part of our team. The CSP belongs to everybody. Low barrier access belongs to everybody. This is what we're doing for all of Canadians, because all Canadians deserve to be able to go and get good quality cannabis at prices they can afford. If they can afford expensive cannabis, that should be in the marketplace. If they can't, there should be cannabis there that can be brought to market, produced inexpensively for people that still want to get cannabinoids but don't have a lot of money. It's just, it's unconscionable that a government made up of so-called public servants would be looking after the rich people at the expense of the poor people. But that's what's going on with legalization of cannabis in Canada. It's not what we're fighting for. We're not done. Don't look at Canada as the model of legalization. It isn't. It's not what the world needs. The world needs low barrier access. The world needs community-based cannabis stores with low barrier access. And if we keep fighting for it, maybe we'll get it. I hope you all do. I hope that you have as much success as you can in influencing the people that influence the situation. That's the trick to activism. Try to be an influencer of the influencers. And we'll keep on doing that here. We'll keep on trying to do as best we can to further the issue from this point. And if you do yours from your point, and we all just love each other and enjoy life, it could work. And even if it doesn't, if while you're doing it, you're having as much fun as you can, well, at least you were having fun. Go and do that. We'll see you next week.